Time now to review the news. This morning, we're joined by Mohammed Bataglia, MP Sisala East and board member for TOR, and as well Nelson Kujo Kwagbeji, head of finance, Melbourne Capital. And a little later, we shall be joined by Dr. Ekwa Amwako. She's deputy spokesperson for the Dr. Bawumia campaign. But of course, the Ahanta Pele is on standby to bring us what's happening in and in front of the newspapers. And Kujo.
Hi.
Hiya.
I'm Afa.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm okay, thank you.
I love the smile.
Thank you.
You're beautiful.
You're such a joy giver, oh dear.
And you are beautiful.
Aww.
It's always a joy to have you by my side, you know.
Thank you, Kuju. What's on the newspaper?
Well, let's talk about you a little.
I'm not even on the newspaper.
The news review. You're on the news, so we have to review you.
Now the paper you're waiting for is in. Now start it.
Okay, Ghanaian Times.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with the Ghanaian Times and see what the paper is reporting. On the front page it says, President Mahama Akufo-Addo, others lead tribute for Nana Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings. The story is on page 10 there, so get the details and read. Medical experts warn expectant mothers against misuse of steroids. So if you're a pregnant woman, please check it. We won't tolerate indiscipline, that's according to Education Minister. And court warns Professor Ameyo Kofi over delay in GIF trial. So those are the stories on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Let's try and check the others. At the back page of the Ghanaian Times, it says, GTF target private schools in development agenda. So that's the Ghana Taekwondo Federation is set to establish a committee solely responsible for the promotion and development of the sporting schools, especially private institutions. So yeah, that'll be good for our kids. Injuries robbed hearts of victory. Well, that's for hearts of folks. Hearts of folks.
What are you?
Hey, Africa's Club of the Century.
Oh no, Emoy.
Oh. What's the Kumap Mapembeba? Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. But Western teams, if you take out the Western teams, yeah.
It is Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Okay.
So you talk about 11 Wise, Azakes, Mediema, you know, and all of those people. Well, Black Queens set to finish off Egypt. Let's see how that goes. Let's move to the Daily Guide newspaper. But let me also mention Summer Tex, right? That's a team for my boss, Zajirenchi, very fantastic young man. I'm sure he's watching us now. Good morning to you and the Summer Tex group. Now, bring your lawyer or I proceed, Judge to Ameyo Kofi. And then also Cabinet warns ministers over unapproved policy announcements. And that is coming at the back of the, you know, the hair that the minister spoke about. And I think also the language policy, where we understand that there's instruction that we should use local language across basic schools. I sort of agree, but other people don't. So we'll leave it and see where it lands at.
I doubt it's just or exclusively to him. I think it would be for other ministers as well.
I think I heard of Sam George as well. You know, so let's see.
In their statements, they didn't name ministers,
no, yes,
right? Yeah. People have put interpretation to it.
You know, and people who are the corridors of power have been saying, well, you know. So let's see how that goes. 4 arrested over Samankase shooting. Bawumia leads MPP delegation to mourn Nana Kunedu. Comes with a photograph of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia signing the book of condolences there with his wife, Hajia Samira Bawumia, beside him. Education Ministry backtracks on mother tongue policy. Oh, why are they doing that? They don't want me to see my beautiful Ahanta being used. Anyway, let's see. But originally, we know that you can use the mother tongue from basic 1 to 4, and then from 4 it changes to English. So let's see.
Maybe it will be on the table for us to discuss, but just to draw your attention, yesterday, the president for NAT was just mentioning that while the policy is quite a good one, the implementation will require that teachers who are going to the teacher training as well are trained in different languages.
Okay.
So because then you have the system where people are posted to say north, but they're not from the north. Okay. Somebody from a teacher who is a Voltarian is posted to the north. Yeah. That's how are they going to instruct pupils? And so there are nuances in the policy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So what we have done, led by the MP of Ahanta West, is to try and train teachers who are of Ahanta origin to now know how to read and write Ahanta.
Okay.
So you can teach it.
Nice.
I think other people can replicate it, and then we see how that goes. On the front page of the Insight, Ghana's healthcare and emergencies, a reflection on the demise of Atamils, Kunadu, and others. I think it will be a beautiful read. You have to get it to read the details there. Towards boosting literacy and numeracy in basic schools, Education Ministry, UNICEF unveil 2025 Foundational Learning Tracker. And also go to court, Kwan CEO fights 7 communities of accusations of land seizure. Let's do other papers there and see. Let's move on to other papers. The Observer, the Overseer, rather, are to forcing to present 2026 budget on November 13, unveil post-IMF fiscal blueprint. We'll be looking out for that particular one. And MEF Partners Internal Audit Agency to strengthen audit response skills. Our Greek Minister, Eric Opoku, engages international media during World Food Prize event in the USA. On that, Mr. Minister, I'm hearing of the importation of a sizable amount of maize. We need to be told why. When our farmers were already reporting of gluts of maize, why are we allowing people to import maize into the country? We need to think about the impact those importations will have on farmers. We'll have a good day to talk about that one, but it will be of interest to hear from the ministry why we've allowed people to import tons of maize into the country when farmers are already complaining of gluts. We'll do that. Let's go to myjournalonline.com, CIMG news portal of the year 2024, and see what the portal is reporting as well. But I love the Agric Minister. I hope that when he hears me, he would, take his mind to those importations. Companies cannot be allowed to import huge tons of maize when we are growing maize in this country. Maize is something that we are self-sufficient in. So why are we allowing people to import tons? I hear one company has imported 800,000 50 kg bags of maize. Why? What for? Let's see. But if you go on to myjournalonline.com, I'm not worried about the numbers. I've learned from Bagbing's era NDC opposition, Afeomaki. He was on PM Express yesterday and talking about how he will lead his numbers to really bring about effective opposition in Parliament, not just sitting there and being bullied around, but they will use their experience to ensure that they keep the government in check. Tolong MP request report on aircraft crash that killed ministers and other security officials. Get that paper, get details on myjournalonline.com. And then it says, Afeomaki urges international schools to teach Ghanaian languages to promote cultural pride. And then we lost the middle class to haircuts and hard choices, but saved the economy. Afeomaki, he said all of that on the PM Express on the show. Catch the repeat of that show at 11 a.m. on the Joy News channel. Back to you, MF Adeti.
Thank you so much, dear Hunter Pili. There's so much happening inside of the Ghanaian Times. You brought us what is happening in front of the Ghanaian Times, but what is happening inside is even more worth noting. So we'll get into that, but thank you so much.
Thanks.
Good morning. You, Honorable, we haven't seen in a while, but how are you doing as well? Honorable, how's the constituency?
It's been good.
What's new in your constituency?
Oh, well, the new thing we have now is once again to express our gratitude to the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the Minister of Roads, and all other stakeholders. Thankfully, we are getting the share of the big push. One of the issues breaking our back is the nature of our roads, and clearly stalling all economic activity, making us more impoverished as a people. Fortunately, some few days ago, I was there, and the first contractor came to do with the eastern part. We are waiting to see the others that will be coming to join to deal with the western part, to be able to connect wire through to Mutunabrango. Because like Kojo was saying, if you look at the hub of maize or cereals, you cannot take off to Mo or the Sisala enclave.
Yeah.
No matter getting the roads done, will actually open up the area. So,
some weeks ago, that area was reporting of grain gluts, especially rice.
Even from now, even the signs are so clear that we are going to get a bumper harvest in terms of what maize.
But how to get it to the southern part?
But even bringing them from the farms to the market centers is a challenge. Everybody, Coach Nimle went there and he nearly shed tears. And even when he came, he had several programs at a point that he knelt in the studio begging President. we have the potential, but we have been shortchanged because we do not have the infrastructure to be able to cut our goods from the farms through the markets and through the bigger cities. Okay. Thank God, I think that relief has been something that we have been waiting for. And the signs are very good. And even the kind of energy and the kind of... I think that the whole project is audacious, and the contractor is well aware of the demands given to him. The conversations are very positive. So I'm very sure that we'll come out smiling in 2 years. We won't be having those challenges. Bad network, road network, and many other.
In 2 years. 2 years we'll be right here.
Yeah,
hopefully we're on a bigger table and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, Nelson, how are you doing? What has your attention in the news? A lot has been happening.
Yes, a lot.
Do you have a daughter?
Why?
Because of the haircut story. I want to get to the emotions of men.
I want to briefly comment on that, and also comment on the... but I want to substantially talk about the expectation regarding the 2026 budget.
Budgets, absolutely.
Good, because that is an area that we market watchers are keenly watching. However, I am a teacher by profession. Okay, I'm a trained teacher by profession, and most people don't really know. And when it comes to issues of teaching, education, most especially at the primary level, you notice that Ghanaian language is one of the languages that we use in teaching, our kids at the basic level. But a policy of this nature, we need to proceed carefully. The reason being that if you want to, as it were, use the Ghanaian language as a medium of teaching and learning at the basic school, you must first of all make sure that you have the TLMs, the teaching and learning materials in place. You must also make sure that you have the teachers that will teach the Ghanaian language. I am a proud Ewe, and I don't think it would be prudent to post a teacher from Pusiga College of Education up north to come down to the south to come and teach Ewe. And so we must make sure that the number of Ghanaian language teachers that are in the system are sufficient enough to meet the demands of the kids. I am aware that some time ago there was a concern within the Greater Accra region that most basic schools in Greater Accra region, they teach Twi as a Ghanaian language within Greater Accra. Meanwhile, Greater Accra, they have the Ga language. And so I am aware then that the Ga Traditional Council or whatever, they were trying to sponsor, teachers who will go to training colleges, within the Greater Accra Enclave, Accra College of Education, Adan College of Education, to be trained as Ga teachers, so that when they come back, they can come and start teaching the Ga language right from the basic level to whichever level it will be. And so for me, it will be prudent to make sure that we have the Ghanaian language teachers in place. Because if you don't have that, then the primary objective of using Ghanaian language as a medium of teaching at the basic level will be defeated. And so we need to prioritize training of teachers in Ghanaian language, and also making sure that we have Ghanaian language materials that the student can use for their teaching and learning.
That's interesting, because you hear one of the arguments that for a person to learn a certain language, they must pick it in their very formative stage. And so for training colleges, is it that you're taught how to instruct in a Ghanaian language, or you're taught actually the entire architecture of a particular local language? Because you have only how many years in training college? 3 or 4 years?
It depends on the program you are running.
Okay.
You have 3 years diploma, then I think 4-year degree.
Okay.
Good. So when you go to training college, the first year we learn what you call content. That was how we used to call it. So content simply means if you take mathematics, you learn all the topics in there. But when you get to subsequent years, you learn the methodology of teaching. And so when you go, and now they have specialized the process. So when you go to training college now and you learn English, it means that when you come out, you strictly be restricted to teaching of English.
Okay.
So right from the beginning, you know that you are doing Ghanaian language Ewe. So when you finish, you are going to teach Ewe. What I think should be done is that even materials for teaching of Ghanaian language are relatively scarce in the system. very, very scarce. So when students are even preparing for their BEC or WASI or whatever, they have to depend on, piece of materials here and there to put together their note for their exam. So the main concern should be, one, having enough Ghanaian language teachers within the system, and two, having the teaching and learning materials in Ghanaian language, within the system to actually make the process very smooth. Other than that, it will be back and forth. However, the current disposition that we have in Ghana now, every parent wants their kids to start speaking English right from the word go. So that is the challenge. Now, how do you juxtapose the two? I believe that our languages are our pride. Our culture is our pride. And so I will side with the minister regarding the use of the Ghanaian language. I mean, you will see a lot of people who have their kids outside, but they can't speak their local language. So if you say, which country are you from? Ghana, where exactly are you from? Let's say I'm an Ashanti, but he can't speak the
Ashanti.
And that is not good enough.
Okay, okay. Good morning. And guess who we have here? Dr. Iko has just joined us. Yes. Mohammed's very good friend. They're always friends here on this table until the arguments start to get heated to their various political parties. But how are you feeling? What has your attention? Two things. I think you may be interested in the haircutting policy because it is infused into discipline. That's what the minister sought to reiterate. Is that what you see? If it's not part of what you're thinking, I'm imputing it into what you're thinking this morning.
I can see that. Well, first, good morning. It's been a while.
Yeah.
We've been away trying to do our best to remind the delegates of the party who is best placed to lead, and so far it's been going very well. I can see my friend here is very happy about the news I'm passing on. If he was in the party, I'm sure I could count on his vote. But yes, it's going very well, and His Excellency is currently touring the Western North region today. So all the best to the team that's there. So I'm going to add what you brought on board, but I think what has had my attention is from about a week ago was this amended cybersecurity bill. Is this something that has been brought up on this table? I think it's very interesting, and it's something that we have to pay some attention to, because if you study how tyrannies or autocratic governments evolve, usually it starts by a very concerted effort to curtail the speech or control the kind of information that citizens have access to. So I find it very worrying that this government in its first year in office seeks to do something so treacherous. To me, I'm using the word treacherous very carefully because that's exactly what it represents. If you seek to essentially control what the citizenry has access to, you seek to control what is essentially misinformation and what is not. And basically, you want to be able to have the entire internet architecture under your thumb so that if it is used to criticize you, you can take it down. I think it's something that's very worrying that we should not just let pass by as a country. We can't just wait for it to be passed and then complain when that act is weaponized against citizens. I don't think we should wait till it gets to that point.
Is it the entire draft that you have concerns with, or there are parts of the draft that you have concerns with?
I think a lot of it has problems that I think we should talk about. I saw a portion that gives the authority power to essentially seize property even before the court has passed a judgment. And I think that's extreme. For something that someone must have posted online that you may feel might not be accurate. I think that's a tad too far. Don't you think?
For a draft, and Honorable Committee, let me just stay with Doc for a second. For a draft, do you think that they're going to be operating on what they feel or what they will arrive at as what is a crime?
But exactly. Then who determines what the crime is in this case?
The challenge has been that they are setting the rules and they're going to be the regulators as well.
The enforcers and everything. So judge, jury, executioner. It makes it very problematic. And the funny thing is, you see, the NDC, when they were in opposition, they used this misinformation and everything as a tool to cause disaffection amongst the Ghanaian people for the MPP government at that time. You would say something that is very factual, but it's something that maybe the NDC people will not like to be said about some of their people, their current president, and whatnot. And an army of trolls will be unleashed on you, spinning all manner of lies in the name of protecting their candidates.
Yeah.
And that is basically what we had to live with throughout 2023, 2024, because you could tell at that point they were very hungry for power. And now you come into government, you come into office, and the first thing you do is to make those boys you employed jobless. I find that very interesting. Or is it going to be selective application of justice like we've seen? And you know, they've already demonstrated a penchant for gross intolerance when it comes to these things. Arresting TikTokers for hosting TikTok lives. You know, we've already seen a lot of that at play. And now they want to entrench it in our constitution and give it more legal backing for them to go on a spree of oppression of the free speech of Ghanaians. And I think that's something that we should not allow, especially as young people, because that is where innovation needs to breed. That's the very fertile ground. Online is a very fertile ground for innovation to grow. And so if there's a deliberate act by the government to stifle it, I don't see how that brings any progress to our development.
I'd come to Honorable. Two things. So Nelson brought the issue of Ghanaian language, the use of Ghanaian language, and he's actually been touting the positives around it, and also has highlighted the challenges that we may face if we don't look at the policy quite holistically. But you and as well, Dr. Amako has just been telling us about the draft, which has become a center of controversy. The minority has been, you know, they've been up in arms with the government saying that no, it's taking the country back. We've made some progress in free speech and that they will be taking the country back. What's your position?
Thank you. Let me say a very good morning to my dear sister. She's here. I know she will always take the controversy here. This is basically a draft bill that will go through a lot of debate and other things. So I'm happy that people are pointing out this. But there's one thing we are all afraid of as people in this country, that yes, as much as we want to give people freedom, it's also important for us to make sure that we at least create some kind of responsibility on people. That's the fact. And when we move to a point that we are more afraid of governments as against the people, then it becomes a challenging thing. And I think that it's not just NDC, no matter how long we stay in power, will not be in power forever. Somebody should take steps to be able to sanitize the system. Said that one day, in the very unforeseeable future, if they come into power, she will also be comfortable to be able to run this country without any, because the social media and whatever is happening now is taking us to a state that at least all of us are not very comfortable about. It's not just the ones in government, even those in opposition. People say things sometimes not based on facts. If you say something based on facts and you can prove it, I don't think you have a challenge with Walter. So I think that as much as it's something that we are going to look at, it will be laid before Parliament, debates will be done, all aspects that we think that are not in sync with our aspirations. I think that there shouldn't be any problem taking that out and fine-tuning it or tweaking it to fit our aspirations. I'm sure that will be fine. And talking about the language policy, like my brother, I'm also a trained teacher.
Oh.
Yeah, trained teacher. And you see,
I have seen on this table some taste for trained teachers migrating into politics. Yeah, of course, Nelson is not on that table yet.
Just like the doctors also move into politics. We have a beautiful, brilliant doctor here moving into politics. The same thing. Yeah, so, you see, it is important for us to begin to analyze why this conversation again. I think that times have come that we felt that as for the basic rudiments of education where you can go write your exams and pass, that has not been the problem in this country. The problem in this country is how our education system is training us to be able to be solutions to our problems. That has been the problem. And I think at many fora, several people commented on this and trying to create a link between the language being used and the kind of education we get. And because they even think that in terms of reception or assimilation, the child is better informed at that early stages with what he is conversant with, or what is privy to, or he or she is privy to. And clearly you can even see not just the president, the current minister, the then Minister of Education, and now the Vice President of this country, Her Excellency, made this point very strongly. Not just as an ordinary person, as somebody who has been in the classroom, somebody who has been in the educational sector for long, and has begun to realize that, no, there should be a connection between who we are and what we want to be. And that's the point. And me being, those days at the training college, like, it is, every one of us here might have studied one Ghanaian language or the other at the schools.
Okay.
Yes, I am a Sisala, but I studied Dagari. There are people who are Sisala who studied a tree or something. Somebody who studied Kasam. Those major languages, we studied them. And I remember when we were being posted to go and do our service at that time, we call it the in and out. It's this teaching practice thing. I was posted to Ejirapa as a Sisala. But I wasn't that conversant with the language. So I laid the complaint. But the structure was that if you were going there not as a native, you were kept at what? The upper level.
Okay.
Then those who were going there as natives were kept between primary 1 or the kindergarten to primary 3. That's because at that point, you can say, like, I made a joke, like you tell a child, sunlight, you know sunlight.
It's
we have a soup because of sunlight. I asked a child in the school, in the classroom, that what is sunlight? Then the child said fanfan. In Dagari, when you say fanfan, that's soap.
Okay.
But I was actually referring to the sunlight.
Oh, yeah?
You get it?
Yeah, I was also thinking it's the brand.
You see, those things are true. But if you have that kind of, if you are a native of that and you are put at that level, you are able to teach the child, to create that connection for the child to begin to understand their own environment, and they pick it from there. And clearly, it's not just about a mere talk, but looking at their cognitive development, you are looking at their emotional well-being and all that. You are even looking at identity. All those things are very important. We've given examples of Japan and other countries, like we've given places that are developed. They create that connection within their indigenous language and the learning they do. And that has been the conversation. Somebody must start this up. And I think that is very important for us to begin to look at it. Yes, we try. But somebody will say language is imitation. Others said that the children speak a Ghanaian language in the houses. When they go to school, they speak English. Yes. But it's not just about speaking. It's about making the language, using the language to let them understand what they are learning. So that even if they come out and they are not able to speak good grammar, but they are able to solve problems.
The way Dr. Kwa is looking at you, I was hoping to go to Nelson.
Oh, why?
But the way Dr. Kwa is looking at you, just 30 seconds, you have something to respond.
Oh, I need a little more.
We'll come back to you because I have to go to, but I'm quite curious. The look, the stare. Yeah, I want to, let me in on the stare. I want to land on it.
Most of the problem, the mechanical problem being solved by our people at Swami, I don't think that they speak English.
Okay.
It's problem-oriented. Let's get a situation that will let us understand our problem and solve them as a people. That's more important to me than this kind of... But I think that I am in sync with what the minister is saying. And I think that parents should begin to look at it. Let's begin to... If this is what will give her the right thinking, let the children understand what they are learning right from the basics. Let's adopt to it.
Dr. Kwa, respond to this for me. Is this a policy you're fascinated by always?
So, you know, the haircut thing.
No, you're talking about language.
We'll go to the haircut. It's all under education, isn't it?
All under education. I saw the video and I mean, I could feel the girl's pain because not too long ago, I was in the exact same position where I had really nice hair and I cut it. And I feel like after I went to secondary school and cut my hair, I haven't really got that volume back. And was it really necessary? I mean, I feel like we've gotten to a point where we have to review that hair. Is it something that is necessary? I see the points where it may create some distractions for the students, but is this something that should be enforced mandatorily across board, everybody? Can't it, the means testing they wanted to do with free SHS, can't we develop something like that where people who would, or schools that would have the facilities for girls to be able to maintain their hair are able to...
But do we? Which means that we're inviting such facilities now. Do we, if you just, on the face of it, if you just cast your mind across, do we have facilities?
Having like one person or two people to wash and braid hair, it doesn't require too much. And especially linking this to indiscipline and whatnot, I do not see the correlation, especially because when we are in primary school, JSS, most of the kids have hair. They are performing very well, doing very well to get into these good schools anyway. So it defeats the argument that there's some benefits to cutting your hair for that 3 years.
Right.
It doesn't.
It's good that we have some teachers on this table.
So they can, and then let me quickly talk about the language. You see, I find it's interesting that we should, you know, instruct in our local language and whatnot. But is it pragmatic, considering the globalization that's going on in the world? If you are in Ghana, because we speak English and we are fluent in English, we instruct in English, we write in English, it's very easy for you to do a lot of other things around the world because they would probably also use English. But if we drop that, just, you know, on this crusade of being patriotic and whatnot, we also have to look at the value that we will lose on the globalization scale if we decide to drop the use of English. Because right now you're in Ghana, you finish secondary school, you want to go to university outside the country. Because you used English, especially those that did the GCSEs, you just write a few exams and you are gone. If you are a doctor, you've graduated in Ghana, you finished the exam here, you want to get a license to practice in the US, you just write the USMLE and you are gone because they are confident that you had your instruction in English. So there's definitely an advantage to using a very universal language like English for our education.
Sure.
It makes us very competitive on the global stage. So I think it's very important to balance that with trying to pursue some patriotic.
Do you not find the balance? Because they say it's just at the basic level.
Exactly.
But
They
that's
have
the
so many years to
formative-
learn the
see,
English.
And if you look at those who are very, very fluent in English, there's this, people would even say that you probably went to a private school, or you went to, people would attribute something like that.
Yeah.
What does it mean? Meaning when you were young, you were instructed in pretty good English, so it made you fluent.
It also means that maybe that home you were coming
Yes,
from,
the
you were
home
speaking
was
more English.
Usually, I think that's actually
That's
the point.
actually the point,
Usually, the
because it's
home
imitation.
is a big part. But I don't see anything wrong with the system we have now that would require a change. The local language is something that I don't want to say it's easy, but most people will pick it up anyway. I think everybody on this table speaks their local language.
But
Yes.
we can't read it.
That's true.
We can't read it. You just speak it.
You
we
can't read your local
A lot of
language.
people
That's a disaster.
A lot of people cannot read
That's
the right.
true.
That's
No,
a
on
fact.
this table. She limited it to this table.
Oh, this table, okay, this table, you know. I
You
even
see,
sometimes read
I think we have to look at it in a very in a proper context.
Nelson, two things. She mentioned pragmatic. She also said that, I mean, if I hear what she's saying, there's diversity. There's also the fact that a language has been widely accepted as what you need to be able to cross borders, to even transact business and all of that. Of course, the Chinese have been quite radical and wild about it. They really don't care about this so-called universal
learning
language and all.
English now.
But they are learning English, actually.
Yes.
That's so true.
The Indians are also learning.
So the issue itself, you know, in some countries we have their primary language and their secondary language. I schooled in a francophone country, precisely Algeria and France. Now in Algeria, the formative stages, they learn in Arabic.
Okay.
Yes, even science, mathematics and all that, they learn in Arabic. When they come to
Like they learn biology in like
everything in Arabic. Okay. But when they come to university, you can decide to choose to learn in Arabic, or you can decide to choose and learn in what? The French language. Those of us who are coming from Anglophone background, we do learn in the French language. Now, the problem is that we all know English language is a universal language. And you go to countries, apart from their primary language, they either have French or they have the English language. I think the position from which the minister is coming is purely that of identity. It will be very bad for me as Nelson to be an Ewe, and my kids cannot speak Ewe. You get it? And when you teach somebody in their primary language, they understand it better and deeper than when you teach them in their secondary language. Of course, when they are in school, they will learn the English. And I also think that in Ghana, we don't have the capacity to start teaching science, biology, chemistry in the Ghanaian language. How would it be? It will certainly
I'd have
be...
thought that would be easy because then you have the language or you need it in English to interpret it to the local language.
Of course. But that, Ghana, how many local languages do we have?
That's the problem as well.
We have a lot. And so, for me, the formative stages, up to primary school, yes, we can concentrate more on the Ghanaian language. However, the normal teaching of the various subjects should be done in English. But the focal point should be the Ghanaian language so that we don't lose our identity, we don't lose our culture. Just as we're talking, a gentleman who is a teacher in Akwepe, in Ho, just sent me a book that he has written in Ewe for JHS 1, JHS 2, and JHS 3. He was just texting me that the challenge that they have at the basic level has to do with the teaching and learning materials. And once they have the books, you know, there, they can easily lay their hands on it and use those books to teach their kids. So maybe I'll share it with you.
Okay.
He said the name is Agbezonli.
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 Working life or life working.
Something like that. And then, so I think his name is David Agbetoyefa. So he has written an Ewe book for JHS 1, JHS 2, and JHS 3. And so once we have these materials in the system, it becomes easy for us to do the teaching in Ghanaian language.
Okay.
So I think that it's a policy that we need a broad-based.
I haven't heard your thoughts on the discipline and indiscipline by the minister. I am quite curious.
Yes, you see, academic excellence always go hand in hand with discipline. You cannot excel academically if you are not disciplined.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I've seen some.
No, it depends on
my language.
It depends on your definition.
Do you mean
discipline?
Grace?
Sorry?
Do you mean getting the grace?
Academic excellence.
Academic excellence, academic excellence. It goes hand in hand with what?
Usually, but
discipline.
I think there are some outliers.
Of course, yes. But I mean, imagine, you see, I don't have a problem with long hair, short hair, with academic performance. But the problem is that you mentioned that the schools, do they have the facilities for them to be washing their hairs? That's number one. Number two, we are only in Accra here speaking. When you go to, outside Accra, you realize that the student who abuse, I'm going to the salon to go and be doing different kinds of things. Of late, I saw some 3 young girls, they were smoking. So we need to tighten the loopholes. The student may end up taking advantage of this, my hair. When you cut your hair, and you just sit down and certainly it will grow beautifully like hers. She said she suffered the same fate some time ago.
All of us.
But look at her hair.
All of us. That's a problem.
That's a lawyer.
That's why we've had to wear the wig.
So
you people are on our necks to cut our hair.
I
revert to being the host of this conversation and moderating.
I don't have problem with long hair or short hair.
Okay.
But I'm saying that the long hair may be to some extent destructive to the student. It's just 3 years that you are going to stay in school. And our parent, our grandparent, our sister, they've passed through the same channel. But today they are okay. So I don't think we should focus more on the haircut. And this is not the first time something of this is. I remember the famous, the Tyros boys at Achimota.
The argument is that was religion. That's quite religious, on religious grounds. Because many have argued that why is that decision from the court not, standing so that every school would also adhere to it. But many have argued that is purely based on religious.
So I think we need a broad-based stakeholder discussion on this.
Okay. It's 2025. It's about time we...
One of those things that, the fact that we have done certain things, have you commented on the hair thing? Please proceed, because there's a very interesting story of how the Ghanaian government has gone into an MOU with Bahamas, the Caribbean, to ship nurses and teachers. And because you both are teachers as well, it will be worth discussing.
Yeah, well, I think my brother Nelson also indicated clearly that we should be able to draw a connection between academic excellence and discipline. And the focus of this, they said, is to be able to create uniformity. Number one, instill discipline. Make sure that we all as students at that level behave in a similar manner. There's a reason for everything. If you ask the managers of schools now at that level, they will tell you the challenges they are going through. They will tell you the challenges they are going through.
What kind of challenges?
The challenges are many, because sometimes with the issues of discipline has become a problem for many schools. Let's not pick the 1 or 2, 3 schools that are doing very well. Even if you walk into their school, their code of ethics are completely different from the majority of the schools we have. And sometimes when you open that box like that and you make it so wide, it becomes a challenge. I do agree. Well, but they are not saying do not have hair, but they are talking about long hair. And let me say, doctor sitting down here, clearly even at the level that she was in the university and studying her books to become a doctor, I'm sure her hair didn't matter so much to her.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I am sure.
Hang on for teachers.
It doesn't take too long.
Please, you listen to me properly. I say it didn't matter so much.
Yes.
But she's here.
It takes so much.
That's the thing. We try to tell the story of others because the people should tell their story. If you line up about 10 women here who were in school, they'll tell you that I have the same attention for my hair and as well with my books.
Why
are we not allowing the women to say what they want?
No, the women have said what they wanted. Women have said it. But we are looking at the generality.
And you know what's very interesting, especially in my school, if you were mixed,
it was allowed, sort of.
Yes, they were allowed to keep their hair in the school. So if you, I remember I had a junior who was mixed. I think she was half Lebanese or something. She was allowed to keep her long, beautiful hair.
With the Achimota case, that thing came up. And I'm sure that this time, if they are instilling it, that will be enforced. So that discrimination and class system will be dealt with.
No, but so I feel like it just goes to prove the point that if we, especially if it's a choice, the schools that can maintain it and should be allowed to. And exactly, I can understand what he was also saying, that if you go to certain rural areas, implementation might become a little problematic. Yes. But if you give people a choice, that, you know, like, certain schools will be able to come up with a small salon to wash and braid hair.
This is secondary school. Let's have a straight jacket.
Okay, let's talk about this MOU. I mean, since this government started, I've heard a lot of times stories or in the news that, well, there's some sudden MOU, or we're training people, some countries seeking to, or having interest in maybe, if not our nurses, our IT minds and all of that. This morning, we're waking up to another story of how the government of Ghana has signed an MOU with the Caribbean, particularly with their eyes on teachers and nurses. Why the crave for nurses and teachers? Do we have enough to be able to give out? What are the benefits as well, Nelson?
All right, thank you very much. I think that Ghana, we have produced enough teachers in this country. As it stands now, we have about 47, 48 colleges of education in Ghana. And every year, these colleges of education, they churn out teachers. You also have the public universities that also train teachers. You take, for instance, UCC, you take, for instance, Winneba, even Legon and Tech, they also churn out teachers. The same thing applies to nurses. For the case of the nurses, it's a bit worse because there are so many private nursing training colleges, within the system, and they also produce so much in a year. And so when you put these numbers together, you realize that for some time, the government may not be able to absorb these teachers and nurses. And so you often heard in the news that we've been home since 2020, we've not been posted. Yeah. We've been home, there is no financial clearance. And, you know, one of the challenges that we have in this country has to do with public sector compensation. And once they are home and you are not clearing them to go and work, one, it puts frustration on, the teacher or the newly trained teacher and the nurse. And it's also put pressure on the family. So if the government has done the cost and benefit analysis to see that the exploitation of these teachers and nurses, it will be good for the economic benefits of the country. Why not? I am in full support of it. The issue is that salaries for teachers and nurses in Ghana is not the best. You look at a teacher's pay slip, you ask him, oh, how do you survive on this? Is that bad? And so if exporting some of them can help them in their economic empowerment, I don't have any problem. The challenge is that we shouldn't export more and then create a deficit in-house. You understand? Because I'm sure there are schools in Ghana. You know, when we are talking about school, we only make reference to schools in Accra, Kumasi, and the rest. I'm sure when you go to his constituency, there are schools that you have to take a motorbike for about 2 or 3 hours before going there. No more. Yeah. We also know there are schools, even in Volta region, where accessibility is a problem. Yeah. And so when we are not able to, exhaust the deficit in the country, then there is no need for us to do the exportation. However, as I did indicate, if the government considers it prudent, the government considers it to be economically, good for the economy, why not? Once you offload some to them, the rest that are in here, they can take care of our kids. That is all I want to say about it. I think it's a good policy that we need to commend. I'm sure in Barbados, they don't have, the number that is required to help their kids. And so, and I don't think Ghana is the only country doing this. When you go to East Africa, for instance, I know Kenya, they are good in exploitation of their security personnel.
That's interesting.
Yes. And so I think we can start from somewhere. Just as she said, we are now in a global economy. when they say when your neighbor's house is having issues, you fetch water and put close to yours. I think it's a good policy, but we must not do that at the expense of our case here in Ghana.
Well,
yeah, so this is actually one of the things that has been very dear to my heart. I spoke about it at length going into the election last year because it was something that we were hoping to continue and do on a larger scale. The truth is that in this country, we produce a lot more nurses than our system is able to absorb. We produce about 55,000 nurses every year. And one might think that is not a huge number, but the government payroll is not able to accommodate all of these people. And so this decision to export that very valuable human resource is something that has been on the books and has been on the table for a very long time. In fact, we started it in 2024 under the former Minister of Health, Honorable Okoboy, where he was in talks with Jamaica, Seychelles, Germany, and the UK to recruit Ghanaian nurses. And I think this morning, let me sit here, I think nurses in this country get some kind of bad rep from our own people, but outside the country, they have a very good reputation as being very good at their jobs. So you can see a lot of our young nurses finding ways themselves to migrate to the UK, and they are welcomed with open arms. So it's definitely something that the country should take advantage of and do it in a scale in such a way that we can send them back. You're there for about 5 years. The government gets some foreign exchange. You come back and a new set goes. That's what they do in Cuba.
But the nurses and other professionals don't have the appetite to return.
That becomes one of the problems. So that was one of the problems. And that's I'm saying, this is nothing new. This is not something that the NDC government is doing now, and so we should clap for them. This is something that...
Will a political party ever clap for another political party?
Oh, no, I mean, I'm not about that. If they are doing something really good, I would clap for them.
One second. The last time you heard the honorable former... majority leader, Oseche Mensah Boso, I mean, commending the government for the impressive economic performance that they have chalked. And I was like, is this, oh yes, I think one of the Kumasi radio stations, he mentioned the appreciation.
I'm not above giving them their flowers.
I think there should be a point where we have to.
Yes, but on this matter, they have not earned.
They have not.
It's not.
I'm happy to hear the one you think they have earned.
When it gets there, I'll of course let you know. I think it's good that they continue it. I hope they do it in a manner that is sustainable, that brings benefit to the nurses. I hope the negotiations are done properly so that both government and the nurses and teachers receive enough remuneration and all of that, and it's done in a very sustainable way. Like you were saying, the biggest issue is getting them to return.
Yeah.
But that also goes to the discipline matter that we've been talking about. Cuba does it. They've been doing it for years. Even when I was younger in Confanoche, we had a lot of Cuban doctors who would come and all of that. They will come, spend their 2 years and go. And there's no
They're happy
problem.
to return.
People rarely overstayed, and if you want to overstay, they did have processes in place for those who wanted to do that. So I do hope that they are able to continue this, because as I said, it's something that was very dear to my heart. It's something I spoke about when I was the spokesperson on health. I spoke about it really well, and then it's something that I'm quite happy that they continue, because that there's a large number of people. When we came into office in 2016, there were about 3 batches of nurses that had been left at home, and the government at that time couldn't employ them. We absorbed them, but you see that at every year there's still a spillover. There's still some nurses that are at home and are not employed. So even till today, there are several batches of graduate nurses who are at home and unemployed. And I think it's a very sad situation, especially considering that we put a lot of money and effort into training them. They have a very good reputation, like I was saying. So it's very wise as a country for us to make some foreign exchange out of it. And I'm looking forward to see how they implement it.
Honorable, which part of this MOU would you possibly have a problem with or have a challenge with, considering that it's your government that signed it? Because I'm not about to ask you whether you like it or not.
No, but essentially that's what you have done. So but I think that I would want to say it's a problem that we've had, and we are looking at the ways to solve it. And like she indicated, I am sure this government is not in the position to ask to be asking Ghanaians to applaud them for initiatives. But even the fact that the government is focused on doing things, even if it means that we have to continue on the right path as it's been left. This concept, way back 2005, I think there had been issues of nurses, even deliberate policy for that time. I have a lot of family members who left for UK to work on, to do work there. But we can also, she did indicate that like in somewhere last year, Okoboy and his team also worked on that. But largely that the motivation factor for many nurses and doctors leaving this country last year was just economic hardship. Clearly. People felt that, and to the extent that the fundamentals have been so weak, to the extent that the exchange rate has become an attractive point. People want to go and work and come and make more money here. Today, as we are talking MFR, the fundamentals are so robust.
But they are still going.
No, let me come in. You are saying
because
that
the prices
we are talking about coming.
dropped.
I've seen people who have moved from Seychelles and they are back because the money they get there, they change it here. No, we raise issues about even people are not willing to remit because they think that they are not getting value of it. Is that not it? So a lot of things are happening to the extent that I am sure with what is happening, if they go, they realize that it's becoming more better to stay in Ghana. So they will, when they work there 2 years, they'll come back. We believe that let them go. The country is also earning a lot and benefiting a lot from what remittances. And if that's they will train people not just for the local use alone, for export. When they even go there, this kind of technology transfer, they also learn new ways to come and impact in our system. So to me, clearly, I think it's a good policy that the government is looking up to. So
yesterday, we saw that the ranking on Interior and Defense Committee, Reverend Tim Fojo, had indicated that the president is quite delayed in appointing a defense minister. Then yesterday as well, we've seen that the Deputy Chief Whip as well, Habib Idris, had said that, well, it's petitioning the presidency to look into the cause of the August helicopter crash. Nelson, let me come to you. Do you really think that the president really is struggling to appoint a defense minister? Or as a country, if you look at it, it's not something we need. There are more pressing things.
Well, I think that the appointment of ministers lies squarely on the shoulders of the president. And as and when the president deems it fit to appoint, he will do that. If you look at the sub-region, Ghana is one of the countries that we are enjoying some relative level of peace. And so I think when the unfortunate incident happened, the president, directed the finance minister to act as the, acting defense minister. And apart from him, if you look at the security architecture of this country, I don't think there should be pressure on the president to just stand up and say, I'm nominating a defense minister. In any case, I think we already have a deputy defense minister who is already at post. And so I don't think it should be a decision or something that should be imposed on the president to appoint a defense minister. If you look at the security architecture of this country and how relatively stable in terms of security we have been, I think that there are more pressing issues. There are more pressing issues that we need to deal with. I just told you the finance minister will be presenting the budget.
And yet he's the same person acting as the defense minister.
Well, I don't think he jumbles in between the two roles with the same level of energy. I'm sure from the defense ministry, he only goes in to sit and give information to the president. We need to focus more on pressing issues as a country. We are just talking about the fact that when you read the front page of the Daily Graphic, I think they say Agri could be creating about 500,000 jobs. I mean, these are the things that we want to be hearing even as market players. As for the politicians, we'll leave them to do their politics. And so I think that it's not something that has to be imposed on the president, considering the fact that we have a deputy defense minister at post. We have other security, agencies.
We've seen in this country, and if you look at the constitution as well, a deputy minister nearly can't do what a substantive minister can do. It almost looks like very ceremonial if you look at it.
Well, you may say so, but the reason why we have an interim defense minister who can act in a capacity as a full minister. So my point is that we should focus more on important things.
Let's look at what may amount to more important things. Of course, we've talked about agriculture, we've talked about health and all of that. But let's look at maybe we've seen countless times where you hear a committee has been set to inquire into a certain matter, and then it's kind of shelved down the carpet. You don't get to hear the end of it. You hear the beginning, but you don't get to hear the end of it. Because for this particular matter, I think in August 25th of August, this was when the government announced that they set up a committee to look into the cause of the crash. Now, the Deputy Minority Whip, would he be in his right direction if he's requesting for an update in this particular crash that happened in August? So they happened on August 6th. The government announced the committee 25th of August, where in October, just a few days, will end October and in November, then we'll be focused on the budget.
Yes, so I agree with you. But you see, when the incident happened, in fact, the whole country was struck down. We were asking questions. What actually went wrong? What was the problem? And a lot of conspiracy theories here and there. It could be illegal miners who brought it down. It could be a technical error and all that. But you see, going beyond the normal conversation as laymen, there are security implications that are inherent in what happened. I don't think it will be prudent and security-wise for the government to just release the entire documents to the public. I think that there are certain informations in there that are meant for the consumption of the security agencies alone. You and I don't need it. But to some extent, we also need to know what actually caused the crash of the helicopter.
Because of my time, I'm going to have to distribute 2 minutes between the two of you, unfortunately. Yeah, I like dealing with the non-politicians. I give them a lot of time. Dr. K, you have a minute to at least
You are creating a
concur. Dr. K, you have a minute to concur or not to agree to his request.
On this note, I would not, I cannot agree with my good friend here, because I think the Defense Ministry is a very important ministry in the government architecture. Honestly, I feel like that's the reason why I went to Dr. Omane Boama. It's something that requires a high level of trust. If you look at the history of the country, defense has always gone to somebody that has the trust of the president. And if we look at everything that's happening in this country, there seems to be some insecurity happening in certain regions in this country. We sat here not too long ago to discuss the way now we had refugees of Ghana in other countries, in Ivory Coast, in Togo, and Burkina Faso. So we cannot say all is well, and so therefore that vacuum that has been created should be allowed to continue like that. No, I do think it's about time that a substantive defense minister is appointed by the president. And to the details of the crash, it is very, very, very important that this committee does not become a 9-day wonder and something that we forget, because it's something that the country needs to learn from. We need to be in a position to be very confident that everything humanly possible can be done in the future to prevent that kind of attack. If you don't even know what caused the last one, how do you prepare and prevent such an occurrence from happening again in the future? So I do think this pressure is in the right direction. I do hope that we as Ghanaians are able to hear from government on the report. Not too long ago, we heard about the discovery of a black box, everything. It seems to be like everything around that has died down. And I think that's very unfair to the souls that we lost on that day, that we just allowed the matter to die. We have to understand and investigate. We have to get to the bottom of what caused that crash. Was this something that we could have prevented? How do we put in measures to ensure that it does not repeat in the future?
Okay. Honorable, because Nelson and Dr. Kerr have just said this, my question really will be, at what point do we withhold sensitive information whilst the Article 21 of the Constitution is very so much alive if you add it to Section 18 of the Right to Information Act, which allows a person to apply, to want to know if a matter is of public interest. For this particular one, quite a sensitive but a very great public interest matter. At what point will the presidency say that, well, we hear you, the Constitution is very alive and is very breathing, gives you the opportunity to want to seek, and also under the Right to Information Act, which one are they taking out and which one are they keeping? Yeah, when they are not violating these provisions?
Yeah, MF, I think that what Leader Habib did was just to seek for information. There has not been any evidence to show that government is serving that information because they think it's dangerous to the public. No. So his accent.
If eventually this committee arrives at a conclusion,
yes, but
should it be provided?
Yeah, but that's what he's requesting for, because they said they were making not entirely the entire report public, but some portions of the report should be made public, and I'm sure that would be.
Does this challenge the provisions? Does this challenge the law?
Yeah, to some extent. You see, you do whatever you do, as per the law, you do it in the interest of the country, making sure that you have a very stable country. So if you let out information that will cause instability, I'm sure the law will not permit you to do that. That is clear. And even in the request of Leader Habib indicated that even requesting for this, he's very much aware that some portions of it might not be reading now because it's a third-party investigations. Right. So he also acknowledged the kind of difficulty and the challenge we are facing as a people. But let me be honest, and let's all be clear here. The people that were involved, the souls that we lost on that 6th of August, meant everything to the president.
Yeah.
And he will be the last person to joke over this kind of things.
Okay.
These are people who are not distant from him, very close to him. And I'm sure that nobody is pained than him as a president.
Right.
So clearly, I don't think that this is something he as a person will even want to joke with. No.
Okay.
And also talking about the appointment of Deputy the Minister of Defense, yeah. Like, I would want to say, yes, security matters are very important. Issues about defense are very important. People who are appointed right from yesterday, the topic came here, where they're talking about Dokofo, Nitowul and Co. We understand that the president appointed a defense minister, late Omani Buama. Unfortunately, we lost him. The president is very much aware. He's been briefed on a daily basis as to how the security of this country is moving on. At the right time, if he wants to appoint somebody again, no, he will do that. And the issues about the military, yes, very important, very critical. We are even saying critical because we think that you don't put somebody there to come and topple you. That's actually the thing.
But I think that will be quite difficult now.
Exactly. That's the point.
I hope that in 2025 it's not so easy.
It's difficult. So you see, but now, we know generally internal security matters like the conflict based on land or chieftaincy issues are dealt with the police. The military generally will have to make sure that they protect our borders from external aggressions. So are we being faced by that kind of existential threat? I don't think so for now.
You sound like if we haven't seen the deployment of military to certain areas.
And the police also falls.
That's a backup.
Oh, no, that's interior.
When they go there, they have their operational protocols.
Yeah.
They have their operational protocols. So they don't go there and just take the lead. No, they know what to do. They are mostly called for a backup. There were even elections where they carried military men there.
You see where you are going.
No,
Have you seen?
You are pointing to her when I've said that.
Well, gentlemen and ladies, thank you. But Dr. K, I'm feeling quite generous this morning. I'll give you a minute. What's up with the tour? Where is the former vice president?
Oh, he's in Western North this morning engaging with the delegates in Seshi Akontombra. Okay. So, yeah, that's where he is. We did somewhere in Ahafo. Yesterday, he was in Greater Accra to commiserate with the family of the former First Lady, Nana Akufo-Addo Agyeman Rawlings, and he returned back to the campaign trail to start this morning in Seshi Akontombra. So all is going well, and we can't wait till January 31st so that he can finally be elected flag bearer of the NPP. And
we should start another campaign.
Yeah, but you see, at that point, all the waters will cool down. I mean, that's really what I'm looking forward to. I think the stride and the internal banter, I'm almost tired of it. So I'm hoping that we can quickly get it over and done with so that we can all rally behind His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to then provide a very credible opposition to our friends.
Who's giving you a run for your money so far?
Well, I think it's quite clear that the front runner is Honorable Kennedy Aponte. But I wouldn't say that he's given us a run for our money. No, I think...
A run for your time? What about that?
Yeah, you know, honestly, I would have thought, and a lot of people have said that looking at everything that is happening, it would have been easier for everybody to just unite behind His Excellency. But we are in a democracy, so we can expect a contest. So, I mean, some of these things bring some excitement and life into the political party. If not for anything, I think it has brought a lot of new faces into the game that we can probably utilize after we win in January 31st. But I don't think there's any doubt in the minds of delegates as to the need to change the man that led them into election 2024. There's nothing wrong with him for him to be changed.
I'm not surprised he's a spokesperson.
Well, Doc, thank you so much. Nelson as well, thank you so much for joining us on the news review. Honorable, why you want to...
enough to give us time to
why do you want to go into somebody's house matter? Why why do you want to go into somebody's house matter?
No,
I won't allow that.
But
But
just
thank you.
a single minute to say thank you and extend my greetings to my people.
Okay.
East. We are here because of them.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us on News Review. There's so much on the show. Please stay.